for adjusting and last minute hosting us. Yeah, shout out to them. Ron, yay! I think everyone knows me, but I'm Becky. I'm the president of the Coronado Neighborhood Association. Thank you for joining our April 2025 meeting. We've got a full agenda, so I'm just going to jump right into it. We always start with this. So Dan, how about it?
Okay. This is in our bank account right now, $47,983, and checking $64,346. It's savings. It hasn't changed savings much, but we have come down. Last month income was $4,742. We had a lot of expenses. I was just looking at it here. Home tour was a huge part of it. Mural Fest. We scanned a lot of historic documents, which are all electronic now, so we'll be able to send those out to the neighborhood. And then Coronado Kids hit, safety, had some stuff, so a lot of expenses last month, so that dropped our checking a little bit. But it's all good because, more importantly, the home tour net income was $21,600. So, back up. So year to date, net income we're at about $1,000, so we're about break even, which is a good place to be. If anybody has other programs they want to fund, we do have giving program funds available. Donations, just general donations, art, kids, and safety. Money left. So if you guys have programs or projects or things that will benefit the neighborhood, these are what we have available, and you just have to email me, treasurer@coronadoneighborhood.com. And just put in a request, and we will vote on it as a board. So, any questions?
We're gonna make that money, Dan! Clara, lovely secretary, membership report.
We have 176 businesses and 339 individual members. A lot of memberships are coming up for renewal. It might not be automatic, so you might want to check to make sure you want to keep the perks.
Thank you, Clara. Sad.
Yeah, it's sliding in.
Okay, Ron did not want to say any words, but Ron is the owner of the Manitoulin Ale House. This is a regular for our pre or post meeting hangouts and our unofficial meetings for all Coronado things. So we are regulars here. We love it, and we're very grateful that they are willing to accommodate this large group on such short notice. So again,
Yay!
Awesome. So this past Friday we had a food truck Friday. We had a neighbor in the community who a couple years ago was doing food truck Friday at the park, at Coronado Park, which was a pretty popular event. That petered off, and we had a lot of food truck vendors who were interested in participating in home touring this year, and we were like, if that overflow, let's plan a little food truck specific event. We had 3 trucks there, and we were right across from the Coronado and behind that little music education center, whatever it's called. And it was wonderful. We had a really good turnout, beautiful weather for it, and I was there the majority of the time, and there was constantly people there. So I don't know if you were able to go, but it was a really good time. There was music and stuff. There were some games floating around. We're planning to do another one in conjunction with Emerson Elementary School. They're planning to do a sort of community celebration event on April 25th, which there's another slide that we have that date. But April 25th, and again, it'll be on our website, on our socials, all of that. But that will be sort of a combination of our Food Truck Friday with their community celebration. So, and that will be at Emerson, which is at 10th and Palm. So, thank you to all those who came out, and thank you to Clara who spearheaded that event.
Yay!
Do you want to speak to us? Sure. So we get a break from Nita?
Everyone came here for me.
Yeah. I did.
Awesome, now you're back. All right. Hi everyone, I'm Kirsten. I'm our vice president. I hope many of you went to our local video last year. That was our first annual one. We're bringing it back. You can see how fun it was over here.
It's at Virginia Park, so 15th and Virginia. It's basically like bingo, but instead of numbers, we have fun art of Coronado things by Coronado people. So it's free. We're going to have a food truck. You can buy tacos. We have an MC who's going to be calling out the hours. You can make lively. We have a DJ. There are prizes throughout the evening that only get better as the night goes on. It's family friendly, so we hope you can make it out Saturday, May 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. So please show up for that. And then, okay, so with that, because we are having custom,
He's excited. Create a card.
create some artwork. We did this last year. We have some very cool artwork. As you can see, I put these together once we got all the artwork. So you can scan this QR code to design a square for these custom. They're going to be different this year than they were last year. But we're also looking for sponsors. We have up to 15 spaces for sponsors. We're hoping, Coronado businesses. So for example, Main Ingredient committed to be a sponsor. It's just $100. So if you have a business in Coronado and you want to help sponsor and bring more support to this event, we truly appreciate that. But definitely art, you can go on to the sign-up sheet. There's all kinds of Coronado things. Some have already been snagged. You can also, some of the sponsors are like, hey, we want an artist to design, like a neighbor to design our piece. So you can sign up for that as well. So please do. We're looking forward to it. It's a really fun event. So thanks.
I will add that there was dancing and mini games and just fun socializing in between all of the actual games of La Chaya, which is essentially bingo. And it was a good time last year, so come on out. I don't know, I would say last year we probably had like 60, 70 people. Yes.
No, more.
We'd love to see you guys out there. It's a great little park that I think is a little underutilized in our neighborhood, so that's why we try and highlight it and put that location. So.
Any questions about Londria?
Scan. Everyone get your phone out right now. Scan it.
Tables.
Officer Cobb.
There's like
Yes, it is May 3rd.
okay.
Yeah, May 3rd from 5 to 8.
Yep. And there's signs at all the tables. You can take the flyers if they're loose. Don't take the plastic. Yeah, we have fun.
Yeah.
Less convenient. Yeah. Thank you. We hope to see you there.
Awesome. Everyone knows about the dispatch. We are actively trying to put together our next edition, actually. So if in the next week you come up with a short little article, a story you want to tell, and you want to submit it to us, please let us know. But it needs to be in by next week for it to be in the next edition. This is an ongoing thing that we are always looking for community members to contribute to. Again, stories about, a project you did on your house, something, how you met your neighbor, and you had this small world coincidence of knowing someone else from somewhere. Whatever it is, it's just about connecting and sharing stories as community members, and it's for the community. So, again, have an idea for a story in the next week, email us at info@coronado.com, and then we will work with you to get it into the next edition of the dispatch. Next month, elections. If you are interested in running for the board, you have to be an active member by April 10th. You can check your membership status by logging into your profile on the website, pretty much in that upper right corner where there's the little general human logo. Click on that, and then there's a thing that says membership, and you can check your status there. Pretty easy to navigate to. And then April 21st is the deadline. If you're interested in running, we ask that you email info@coronadoneighborhood.com a statement about which position you're interested in running in and a bio about yourself. And then elections will be held, May 1st is our general meeting, and we hope that all the nominees are able to attend and just speak about themselves and why they're interested in running for whatever position. And then elections would be open, or voting would be open for a little over a week, from the 2nd to the 11th, with announcement of the new board on the 12th. So very simple, essentially nomination process, self-nomination process. But we have several positions open, a couple board. Well, it's an election, so anyone can run for any position they want. But I'm stepping out as the president position. I know Dan's stepping out of the treasurer position, and Brian is stepping down from the director position. So those are open, but essentially all of them are open because it is a free democracy.
Ow!
This is a little democracy.
A little democracy. Okay, we have a guest speaker today, Heather Lennon. I had the pleasure of meeting actually through a work meeting, and through all things, she ended up making the connection that we are both interested and connected to the homes on 11th Street and Coronado there that are in the fenced-off property connected to the surgery center that have been fenced off for about 2 years now, and we just got to talking about, how do we make something there happen, and obviously the seller is up to the seller, but we are just interested in preserving those homes, and I will give the floor to Heather for the next couple minutes to talk about what she does and her interest in preserving those properties.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting me come. I'll try to speak up. My name's Heather, and I am Phoenix resident. I am a niche general contractor. So I do adaptive reuse of old and historic buildings, mostly into retail, and we do lots of historic homes. And I love to say that I'm trying to save the history of Phoenix one old building at a time. I'm very involved in the community. I'm on the board for PCA. We see some members here, so they can vouch for me. But those homes kind of came onto our radar because someone asked us to come in and give them a price as to what it would cost to save them. So we have been through there twice with our teams. I have had multiple meetings with the city about them, and they are what I call getting lost to the sands of time. So the PUD, the Planned Urban Development, was stamped in 2022, and it's 2025, and those homes are still sitting there. So I'm just coming to kind of see what the neighborhood's feedback is about it. I'd kind of like to tell you what we would love to do and see what your thoughts are. I really believe in getting involved really early in the neighborhoods. I have great proof of concept. Like I said, I've been doing it 27 years. I have a master's degree that focuses on retail store design and consumer behavior. I own some really cool properties here in town, one of which is called Warehouse 215. It's like a really cool event venue, and that is a building we saved that was built in 1918, a really cool building. So these homes, we would desperately love to save them. And the timing is running out. I have time, but they do not. They are definitely falling apart, from the roofs to the trusses in the roofs, to the floors, to the concrete front porches, the windows. Everything needs to be fixed. Everything needs to be evolved. We're very adept at historic. When I meet with the city, I meet directly with Helena from Historic, and Josh, who's the head of planning, and Chris, who's the head of economic development. They're really great partners with us. And we see an opportunity to create something that's really cool there. I do not want to buy them to resell them. I would love to buy them to do short-term and long-term rentals. We would love to find a way that maybe someone would sponsor a couple and we could let the hospital use them, so that if they have people that need to come in as an emergency, it's right across the street. We're really involved in our communities, and those people who do know me is really important. Everything I do, I try to give back. So that will always be kind of part of what we do. But what our vision is just like a really cool block, with communal front yards and a communal kind of open fencing and maybe a community garden and shade and seating and something that's welcoming and inviting and not like junk that you turn onto 11th Street. And every home in Coronado is so cute, and then you have this, like the blight that it makes me sad, and it really actually makes me angry. Because I will say this, if not us, then who? I mean, that's what it comes down to, is that someone has to decide to put their money into it, and I am willing to do so. I am funded all from private money. I've already taken like 6 of my investors through there. They love it. So we are funded if we can get this rolling. We have some challenges. It is part of a PUD, a planned urban development. That is the whole block. That means the old buildings behind it that were like the healthcare buildings. Everything on that block is included for one sale price. And currently, the seller doesn't want to bifurcate, doesn't want to remove the homes from this big parcel. And I don't do multifamily, and I brought my multifamily there, and no one is interested in purchasing that I am affiliated with. So, we are trying to motivate the sellers to be willing to separate the homes from the rest of this parcel. I will tell you that no multifamily person has any interest in saving 7 old homes. It's not what they do. It's not where their interest lies, but the PUD requires it. It says that you have to save these homes, they must remain, and you have to fix these certain things, right? The roofs and the porches and the windows, but it's limited in the scope. The other thing that this PUD requires is every lot on, I believe, in Coronado is 7,000 square feet. These homes, they want to take 35 feet of the backyards to put it towards the buffer that would be then in between the apartment complex and the homes. And that was approved on the PUD. So now, that was a big deal that was put together by this apartment complex. They asked recently for another month of due diligence, and then they dropped and walked away from the deal. So there is no one here interested right now in buying that. And the clock is ticking, right? I mean, you can't just sit there. And I have been in these homes and I see what happens, and I'm very versed in this. And the worst thing you can do is leave a space empty. It just is like the death of a space. And I really don't want to see that happen. I'm willing to give up those 35 feet. I think that's part of why it makes more sense to make them rentals, because we would have to sell them for quite a bit less because they don't have those big backyards. And our return on investment, my investors are all for it, but they also need to make their money back, right? So it is a business as much as it's also my passion. So I have to be cognizant of that. Yeah, so I just would love some feedback from you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions at all. We're in the midst of we have a historian that's looking up all the information about these homes, because it's not about the 7 homes. It's about Mary's home and Bob's home, and why were they built, and how were they built, and who lived there, and what is the story that brought these homes to life. It's not just the building, it's the people who were in it. It speaks to who we were, it speaks to who we are. And again, if we don't save these, no one else is coming up to do this. That's what they've been sitting for so many years. And to force a multifamily person to pay for these homes, fix them up, and maintain them, it's just not tenable. I don't see it happening effectively, and I've seen it done really poorly in the past. So I'd just love to answer any questions and get feedback from you guys, what your thoughts, how you feel about that.
Very interesting talk, thank you. So am I to understand that multifamily project is not moving forward right now?
Correct. They walked away from the deal. There is no deal.
Can I talk to you afterwards very briefly?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
So, I don't think we need a more short-term rental, but the hospital needs housing, and that was part of what I thought we were getting with the original proposal, but that's dead.
Yeah, that was not on the PUD, the requirement. It said a mixture of short and long term is what the PUD states.
Okay, what I meant is whatever they were building on the other part of the property.
Oh, yes.
Part of
That
it
is
was they
dead.
had housing for nursing,
That was all,
child
that's
nurses and all
dead.
that.
Because
So,
what happens is you have this PUD, you have this is what we want to build, right? This, multifamily. Another multifamily, that's not what they're gonna wanna build. People don't come in and just take over plans from someone else. They have their own specifications and their own process. And so they would come in when they are able to sell this, and they would have to redo all of that. And it's been how long now? So even if they sold it tomorrow, it would be 3 or 4 years before somebody touched those homes. And they just don't have the time. There is not enough time left in them because of what we see going on.
So what is saving business area?
If we can get agreement from the seller to bifurcate them to sell us just those homes, then we would go about saving them. We would do thorough analysis to determine what needs to get fixed, and we would fix it, and then we would put them up for rent. Or like I said, if we can have some that the hospital could use, we're open to kind of any options, but they would stay residential. There's no interest in making them commercial. I don't think it's appropriate even for the neighborhood.
So basically like offering price like the seller.
Well, of course that, but, again, our ROI is already gonna be really, really like backwards because of how much it's gonna take us to fix them, and I can speak to that, and it's a lot. So, the problem is that, telling the seller that we're really interested in these, I mean, they can come back and say, sure, no problem, $4 million. So our hope is that they would be reasonable and equitable with us and understand the outlay that we're gonna have to fix them.
Worst case scenario is they don't do this, they let the houses disintegrate to a point where they have to get demolished, and who wins from that? The people that ultimately buy the block? I mean, is that what people do? They wait it out and let the houses get so bad that there's really no choice but to demolish them, and then that's the worst case scenario?
Well, depending on how the PUD evolves, if someone else buys it and goes back to the city to change what that looks like, I don't know what they would ask for. But they currently have, they are, registered historic as the homes are, but they also have an easement that was put on them that further protects them. But there's a problem with the easement. The city council votes on these easements, and there's some monies that you can get to help offset costs for historic, for threatened buildings. Those are things that we're very adept with the city, so we would seek whatever funds we could get to try and help. But the city has like a no gift clause. They can't just give us money. They have to get something for it. And what they do is they add additional years onto your easement. But the city council made it in perpetuity. So there's no way to add any years, so we can't get any help. So I'm gonna have to go back to council to ask them to adjust it such that we can get some assistance. So it's gonna be a messy, sticky deal, but I mean, we say all the time, we do the small hard things till they're done. And we believe that these homes are worth the effort. But boy, oh boy, if we had the buy-in from the community, that would be amazing. We just wanna be good neighbors.
Is there an opportunity, I know that you mentioned it has to be residential, but is there any opportunity to make them into like an art studio or a yoga studio where we can have some creative outlets for the community and get some really cool artists and people who are really passionate about their work, because Coronado is very eclectic, so that would really kind of push that vibe that we have.
I mean, if that's what the neighborhood is really interested in, that's why I'm here. I want to get your feedback as to what you need. I'm guessing, right, as to what you need based on my understanding of what I do. But we're not opposed to that. It would be something, though, that would have to be the city, right? They would have to decide that that would be okay. Right now, zoning does not allow for that. They're residential. But what I will tell you is that both of the people that know me know how important art is in my life. And there would absolutely be art there from local Coronado artists. That is always what we do when we have a property. So we would absolutely do a call for artists to build the beautiful benches, right? What are you gonna do? Maybe we do murals. Like, we would want the artists to come and get inspired and help us understand what they would like to do. So even if we can't make it that, we could certainly help have art involved, and there's nothing to say that there can't be a yoga class on the front yards every Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, that is something that we can activate as a neighborhood. So, we're definitely open to that.
I think another interesting option, since you mentioned the hospitals, beyond thinking of the staff of the hospitals, like the travel nurses and
Yeah,
other technicians, but you could also think about if there's an organization that wants to provide space for families who, for instance,
that's
where
what
they're
we were
being
thinking
treated,
of.
if they're being
Someone
treated
coming in
at
and
the
needing
children's
someplace to
hospital,
stay
but they
with
live
their
too
kids
far
or their
away,
families. I think that would be a great, that's absolutely what we're thinking.
We're gonna jump
Right.
to Meredith. Who's next on it?
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the Dental House. It's located in downtown, I can't remember the exact, and it's and they house people that are cancer patients that are here temporarily.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have family accommodations, but you know that's already an ongoing model that
Yeah.
you can maybe
Yeah,
partner
it's
with.
I mean, we love those ideas. You know, we want to have these homes be of service to the community. So we're absolutely open to evolving something like that. And sometimes those partnerships are the best ones. So, yeah, I'll get that from you before I go.
So I think we can safely say the neighborhood is totally behind the building's not deteriorating further, and you say buy-in from the community would help. But what's needed is an agreed upon price between the seller. So what can we do to help get the seller to play ball?
I mean, that's the question that I would pose to you guys, yeah, because currently they don't have interest in separating them. The comment was made that they don't want the tail to wag the dog.
Get torches in our hands. And
I mean,
Just don't get anywhere close to the house.
I'll just say, as someone who does know Heather, that it makes me excited to hear that you're interested because you are a great member of our community. I know where your heart lies, and so in my mind, preserving these houses, no matter what they become, is the most important thing. I came from the Oakland neighborhood where we constantly saw houses that were just demoed by consent, where they fall apart, and it's exciting to hear that you're interested in this.
yeah, I mean, we're really, really passionate about it. When I do like a development tour before I like buy my next project, and so we looked at like 13 different opportunities and we landed in on 4 of them, and this was at the very top of our list. We just love them, and they are worthy of being saved. I mean, at the end of the day, they are our history, but they're also so cute. They're so nice inside if they're not just decimated. But they're going to require all new plumbing, all new electrical, all new, I mean, everything, HVAC. So, you know, it's not going to be an inexpensive endeavor, but it's something that I think is worth it to do. And for us, if we can get buy-in from the neighborhood, get buy-ins from other, you know, maybe there are neighborhood businesses that want to, you know, put a little bit towards it. Maybe there's a campaign we can put to try to help a little bit. But I would say, I mean, you know, the pitchforks and I don't know that that's the case, but I would just ask you guys as a community, what have you been able to successfully create with the kind of force of this community, the connectedness that you guys have, the voice that you have, because you have one. So I would ask you guys how you would feel it would be most beneficial, because I don't know.
Got time for one more question for Heather, if there are.
So, did we need like a community petition going around after, you know, you kind of pitch all the details of your plan, or like what would help? What do we need to
I
do?
think that's an awesome idea. I mean, I think feedback from the community would, of course, be important. And no one has anyone talked to you guys about this, other than years ago when they did the PUD? No, like, I actually give a shit. So, you know, and it is something that we only do what we're passionate about. So, we're definitely passionate about this, and I'm tenacious.
Your business card?
Yeah. And my last name is Lennon, Lennon, and our business is, I have a few, but this is Imagine Develops. So you guys can like stalk us on LinkedIn. There's a kind of, but yeah, I'll leave a card here, and there's QR. But I would just love partnership with you guys and really appreciate like anything. And also, if you have any information about those homes, we want to understand the history and the stories of them. So please send them our way. For sure.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for the questions. All right, we got a full agenda, so we need everyone. I know it's also loud in here, so we're going to jump down to our safety committee survey findings.
No, all 7 of these are one family and fall apart. There's dirt in the front of it.
Okay.
This is the valve.
Hi, I'm Laura
Farrahan. I am the chair of the safety committee, but working really closely with Becky and also Scotty over there. So I think many of you maybe participated in the safety survey that went out a couple weeks ago. Thank you very much for your responses. We're just gonna go over like some of the findings from that really quickly. Yeah, so let's kick it off. So kind of bottom line findings, there were some key safety concerns that came up. So speeding and traffic safety, that was the case last year as well. Firearm activity, that's a bit of a new one this year, so not totally surprising. And then illicit activities and parks and alleys was another sort of key safety concern. And then some of the most requested safety strategies, improvements in police presence. Thank you all for joining us tonight. More traffic control, alley and park cleanups, that's something that we've already been starting to do more of, and then more lighting in some of those public areas. So a couple key takeaways here too, things about like, for the most part, people feel safe during the day. At nighttime, that doesn't feel so much the case. And then, yeah, I think there's also still sort of like lack of awareness around some of our safety resources and contact numbers. So that's something that we've been trying to like address. So on the Coronado website, for example, there is like a whole list of different safety resources and contact information, but we're also trying to disseminate that information kind of more printable type stuff too.
We also, yes, just within the last week have ordered mailers to go to all the houses, mailing addresses in Coronado that have all the numbers on one side, so it's a little postcard size mailer that can stick on your fridge, and you guys can have that at your hands. So we know it's tracking down what numbers to call is maybe half the battle sometimes. So we're trying to share that information as best we can and as best we know.
Yeah. And then the other final finding on that is just that it seems like maybe reporting is a little bit down. So one, we want to make sure that you know where to report to for what, and then we also want to encourage you to please report those issues so that the city has more data and more information to act on. Okay, cool. So thank you all for participating. 123 responses. I think it went out to like 1,000 or so people. And then we had several people that signed up and wanted to do sort of phone trees for their community, wanted to sort of be like signature collectors for petitions, and then other folks who wanted to kind of join forces with the safety commission, which is great. Okay, so top safety concerns, again, I kind of went over this, but you can kind of see that, so people listed that as their top concern, speeding cars and firearm activity, and then across kind of like all listings, whether it's like top concern, second concern, third concern, decided to kind of see how many, the counts or everything else there, so yeah, it gives you a little bit more sense of that. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure some people, I think burglary is specifically house, and then that just like more broadly maybe car, etc. Yeah. Cool. And then there are a couple areas that kind of were associated with some of those safety concerns. So for speeding and roadway safety, you can see some of those like the kind of roads that you would expect that are kind of cross-cutting the neighborhood. For firearm activity, it seems like it wasn't like quite, no one was quite as sure where that was happening, but it seemed like that was kind of 12th and Palm or 13th and Palm in Monte Vista, and then parks and alleys for sort of illicit activity, and then fireworks was also a concern that came up. Seems like maybe that's more in like the 15th Street, Cypress area, but it gives you kind of a sense for like where stuff is going on. All right, perception of safety. So as I mentioned, like most people feel safe or very safe living or working in Coronado. I think what we did see was like there was a little bit of a rise in people feeling unsafe. So there's that. Yeah, and then the folks that felt most unsafe were also like most concerned about firearms and that illicit activity, which are more concerning. So it makes sense that might make them feel more unsafe. The next one. So yeah, I think this was a little bit more distressing to me, at least, that like not very many people feel, or that this many people don't feel terribly safe walking at night. So that really came up, especially this very unsafe one next few days. Yeah, so you kind of see how in 2024 that sort of like very unsafe was like a little sliver, and now it's a bigger sliver. So that's kind of concerning to me that people are reporting very unsafe. around. They have been around. Yeah, so here's kind of a map of folks witnessing unsafe activity, at least weekly. So this is kind of plotted against how many people living and working in Coronado, sort of very safe at the bottom, very unsafe at the top, and then how often they're witnessing unsafe activity. So like, you know, most frequently over here, least frequently over here. So it kind of makes sense that for the people who feel very safe, they're also like not seeing anything that makes them feel unsafe. So like nothing very surprising here, I don't think. But I do think what's interesting is that there is this overall decrease in witnessing unsafe activity, but that's paired with like a rise in feeling very unsafe. So it seems like the stuff that people are seeing is like just more concerning to them. Is kind of how I read this. Yeah. So the next one. So the folks that are most frequently walking and biking the neighborhood reported feeling very safe at a higher rate. I thought that was kind of an interesting finding. And then the next one is generally frequency of walking and biking the neighborhood correlates with the frequency of witnessing. If you're like out and about, you'd imagine that like I'm out and about weekly. Maybe I witnessed something weekly or I witnessed something monthly, and like that's generally the case. Like it kind of maps to that. What I thought was interesting is that the folks who say that they aren't out walking and biking very frequently or never are witnessing stuff at like a higher rate than you would expect. So to me, this might mean, are they seeing stuff on the Coronado message board or like in these channels that are making them feel unsafe by proxy rather than witnessing it firsthand? So that's kind of how, again, hypothesis, but one way to okay, so the next one is about safety issue reporting and yeah, kind of response to that. So yeah, so people know about Phoenix Cares, which is awesome because I think Becky, you invited Phoenix Cares to speak at a general meeting. That was one of the ones that like I think encampments have been a big safety concern last time around. So I think we were doing like a lot of work to get people to understand how to report encampments. What is Phoenix Cares? So it's great that that worked, but like it remains kind of low in terms of other reporting, and this is actually down from last year in terms of people who said that they reported an issue in the last 6 months. We did change the phrasing of the question, so like we could have added some variability there. But overall, to me, this says like people aren't reporting as frequently as they used to. And then yeah, as I mentioned, awareness seems to remain low. We're trying to do things to address that. And then yeah. And then I think this is another piece. So I think in the previous year, it wasn't this high that people felt like they were receiving an untimely response. So something to think about there, like are people not reporting as much because they feel like it's not working? And then the next one, okay. So strategies to address top Coronado safety concerns. So this is like kind of the top 5 that came out. I tried to also code some of the stuff that was in others. So like that's the little like rainbow slice here. There was a lot of people who were asking for multiple things together. So the CNA is already working on some of these. So again, we're doing alley and park cleanups. We're trying to like disseminate more of those resources. And then we can kind of like, we now understand that we need to put more effort into these other things as well. So that's one of the reasons why we've got our community action officer here tonight. Yeah, so I think like we have a sense for where the traffic stuff is a problem and where we might need to mitigate that. So yeah, we're gonna like think about how we can do mitigation tactics in partnership with the city departments that can help us there. On the next one, yeah, again, this is like we're getting this information to our partners that they can kind of like help us figure out the stuff. But I think like what we're asking folks to do again is to report stuff, be available to be contacted by the police so they can like actually understand more about the situation, so they can like gather evidence as appropriate. I think a lot of people call stuff in and then don't want to be contacted, and like please like say that you will be contacted so that folks can follow up. You can also do that so they don't come to your door, they can just give you a call instead if you're uncomfortable like having the police actually show up on your doorstep. So we'll talk more about that later. And then illicit activity, same thing here, like reporting to the appropriate channels, yeah, and then making sure that you're like talking to the right people. We're also trying to work to do things where we're more present in the park. So the alley cleanups and park cleanups is part of that. Trying to do like monthly swap meets and like for free stuff in the park. Just like think about other things that you can do to activate those spaces that are shared public spaces. Yeah, just to make it less. Cool. That's it. I know I went really fast. Yes. Questions. The next park cleanup is not this Saturday, the following Saturday at 8 a.m. and it's going to be in Virginia Park and the adjacent alleyways ahead of the Lotteria.
Yay!
What questions?
The traffic. What are our plans for what's going on in this neighborhood?
So Becky and I have been working to try to get some like temporary traffic like speed monitors there. But then I think the other piece is like there is a speed bump, speed cushion program, but we need community engagement. You have to get like signatures from all of the folks around there so you can do the traffic stuff. Yeah. Great. Let's talk. I'll share information with you about the speed.
Yeah, I hope to have at the next meeting or future meeting someone from the Streets Transportation Department to talk, because they have a speed cushion and speed bump. There's like a slight difference between them or something. Anyway, either way, either way, there's a process, and I hope to have someone from Streets come talk to future.
We walk all the time at night through the city, through all the neighborhoods. Our neighborhood, feel very safe with it. It's the traffic that's the killer, and it's just dangerous. We have to do something, and we're growing, so we've got to get ahead of it.
Great. I think in our neighborhood, the highest. I don't know if.
Right, you don't even know. You don't, I mean, just saying the sign might be level.
I think 12.
In Portland, it's like 20 is plenty. You know, signs before in Portland, all over the places, 20 is plenty. You don't murder people if you go less than 20 miles an hour. Is the idea?
Oh, great. No, great. I agree.
I think the speed bumps are brilliant. I think stop signs, and I go for stop lights. It's out controlling this neighborhood. And if you walk it every day or at night, it's a nightmare.
I've been trying to see like about the, those speed signs and then giving the feedback, like your speed is 40 or whatever, but yeah, slow down or whatever. But if you think our neighborhood is more sure, but there is, anyway, that will be a hurdle because it is street transportation engineers.
Can Willow help us in any way? How organized that community is, and when you go down your streets and dear God, I mean, I drive down and I hold everybody at bay because it's their rule, we just have to get proactive.
After our safety committee meetings, we meet once a month on the last Wednesday of the month, typically, but our meetings are on our website, and we need more people to spearhead collecting the signatures on their block, to do the petitioning, and to get the
I'll do more than my block.
Yeah, great. Awesome. All right, well, we have 10 minutes left. Thank you, Laura, for that great recap. Going right into our next topic, or our next guest. We have our new Community Action Officer, Officer Tim Cobb is here today, as well as Sergeant Nix, who is Officer Cobb's boss. So, be good, Officer Cobb. Say the right thing.
He's already been warned.
So this slideshow that we're going to go through is going to talk about some of the area and his responsibilities and just sort of the breadth of what he is tasked with as a community action officer. I will preface this whole conversation with saying that community action officer does not mean that he is our community action officer specifically just to Coronado and that's all he does. He has a huge area which we're going to cover in this presentation, and the point of this having him here is he is our point of contact for the police department when we have growing issues and concerns. He is not our point of contact when there is someone in our backyard who shouldn't be. Like, you still should call 911 and you should still do the right proper channels, but he is not our first point of contact for those sorts of issues. We should collectively be tracking these trends that we're doing with the safety committee and these surveys, communicating with them, and then saying, hey, are you guys seeing this too? Is there discrepancy? How do we align and make sure we're doing what we need to make our community safer? So with that, Officer Cobb, thank you for coming today. I will start this slideshow, and if you maybe want to stand over there, so people, your voice will project in all the ways people are standing. I think I said a little bit about this, but anyway, I'll let you.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of went through this, but I'll just deal with that. So as it says, like, we act as liaison between the community and the police department. And as Becky was saying, we're not like, if somebody's in your backyard, you're still calling 911, you're still calling crime stop. Somebody, if you go out of town, you come home and your house is broken into, you call crime stop. But like now, let's say we're having chronic issue of something, that's where we kind of start coming in. Okay, so again, it's like maybe you guys are just getting hit with like burglary after burglary. And whoever has burglary is like somebody actually entering someplace they don't belong and taking something. That would be burglary. Theft would be like stealing something off your porch. Okay, just to give you an idea. So at any rate, that's something that we want to know about. That's something where it's like you're having a chronic issue with something that we are going to kind of help mitigate that. And whether it's just letting people know we have teams available to us, such as like our neighborhood enforcement team. If you believe like there's some like bad activity happening at a particular house, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna do a little workup on it, and then we're gonna pass that on to our neighborhood enforcement team, who's going to like take further steps and hopefully eliminate that. Vacant houses, things like that, where we're gonna try to help out with making sure that there's authorities to arrest, so that there's a little bit more bite to it. So if we do respond to it, we don't have to look for a victim. We don't have to know whether or not that they want to be a victim. We already have all that information available. So this is going to be the Mountain View precinct, or we like to call it 700. And you see it's going to be divided up into 3 sections, and we have 71, 72, and 73. So 71 and 72 are all going to be east of the 51, basically up to kind of Scottsdale, Tempe border, airport, up to about Phoenix Mountain Preserve, a little bit past that, not quite northern, but Mountain Preserve, it all kind of deads in there. And then 73, which is the area you all live in, is going to be I-10 up to the south side of Campbell, west side of 51 down to the I-17. Okay, so this is the area that I am responsible for, is all that, everywhere there's a 73, that's the area I'm responsible for. And there's about, probably around, I'd say, in the upwards of 20 neighborhoods like this. Well, I won't say like this, because you guys are exceptional.
Saying the right thing.
And I truly mean that, by the way. I'm not kissing out to anybody. And then in each of these sections also, just so you kind of know how things work, is that each of these areas, so we have 5 areas in 71, 6 areas 72, 6 areas 73. Each of those areas are divided up into going to be like the beat. So 736 is the beat, okay? We should have, in a perfect world, we would probably want at least like 10 to 15 officers in each area per shift, okay? We're nowhere near that. Like, we're honestly probably average with like time off, people sick, vacations, stuff like that. We're doing about 6 to 8 officers per area. So maybe 8 officers like servicing that entire area. And then just to, we'll probably get into it if we do, we'll say we already talked about it. But, and certain calls, almost all calls require at least 2 officers. So just think about that as like things are going on. So you can go ahead. Move on. Yeah, and then just Coronado. Where you guys are.
Close enough, that's fine.
Close enough. Here we go. There we go.
There you are. Okay. So
this is, I'll
okay.
yeah, so this is kind of what I was saying at the beginning. Like, we are tracking trends end, we want to hear from you guys. We're working on things with the safety committee to understand the concerns, track those more regularly, and then again, go meet with Officer Cobb, Sergeant Nix as needed, and as things are presenting themselves, or if he's noticing something on his end, connecting with us to say, hey, what's going on here? How can we work to address A, B, or C, whatever the issue may be? And then taking a step back to what Laura said earlier is like, one of the big things in our recent meeting with Officer Cobb and Sergeant Nix was there might be a big misalignment in what they are seeing and what we are hearing on our survey because of what Laura showed in the survey results, reporting. If people are not reporting and not willing to speak with the officers, then it's going to be a slower response time. It's not going to be deemed as important. And there's, I think, a slide in here about how you guys process the urgency of requests. So that's another thing that we can maybe get into. I know we're already getting close to time, and I want to be respectful, but I know this is the main meat and potatoes of today's meeting. But that said, reporting and being willing to talk with the officers is a really big component of this all happening in alignment with what they are able to do and how they are able to allocate resources. So that's essentially what this slide is getting at. With that as well, come to our safety committee meetings, which again are the last ones, primarily the last Wednesdays of every month. I don't know if you want to say anything on this, but I've been calling in, reporting, just really hitting on the reporting aspect of it. It's critical for them to have the full details, the follow-up, to understand and do their job.
We have a whole like analysis unit that's going to determine like how many officers need to be in each area based off of calls for service and what those calls for service are. So if we're not, if it's like not being represented well, then you're going to get less officers than you need, than you should have. So when as they're like kind of like, because every so often they do something where they're going to like, okay, let's analyze this, make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be, and then kind of maybe make changes as necessary.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How many people don't want to have you call back? How many people call in and be like, hey, there's an issue, but no, I'm not going to talk to anybody later.
More than you think, and it depends on the calls, and sometimes it's like party calls, let's say. Like they don't want contact on party calls, and that's why because obviously you don't want to call in on your neighbor having a party and then we show up, we break it up, and then we go knock on your door and we're like, hey, they broke it up.
We have an agreement about that too, right?
You know, so I mean, all we're looking for is like even telephone contact, and honestly, most of the time if we see contact, we're just going to go, we're going to deal with it, and we may not even contact you. You know, it's just if you really want it, you will. But
They usually ask you want us to contact.
yeah, but we on certain things we want contact because, like I said, we'll do, and we'll kind of get into it here probably, but like there's a thing we call broadcast. So broadcast would be something like, again, a loud noise. You know, neighbor's backyard playing music too loud. Okay, you call it in, but I don't want contact. Well, a lot of times what's going to happen is it's just a broadcast, so it's going to be, and the dispatch is just going to say, any units in this area, there's a loud noise broadcast. Neighbor is complaining that neighbor here is playing loud music. And if we happen to be there and we have nothing to do, then we might go handle it. But most of the time, and I'll be honest with you, most of the time it's not going to get handled. So that's why the contact's important.
I'm the party shutter down.
You're the one. But yeah, most of the time.
Fireworks too.
It's all good. But yeah, most of the time it's like nobody's even gonna show up just because of like other call volume. Not because they don't care about you, not because they don't care about your loud noise. And sometimes it is, it's like we get calls like 10 a.m. on a Saturday, and somebody's like, my neighbor's backyard playing music, and we're like, I'm not gonna go break that up. It's really unreasonable. Just like drive by and be like, whatever. They're having fun. Right.
Just talking about emergency versus non-emergency. Again, this is kind of the, there are resources for emergencies, and then if there's a non-emergency, there's other graffiti busters, Crime Stop, other numbers and resources to address non-emergency issues.
I have a lot more numbers than 911.
Yeah.
A lot more numbers than 911.
This is a great opportunity to put this in your phone and save it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Or
Crime
so
Stop.
maybe the
Crime
song.
Stop.
And honestly, if you're not sure, I mean, it's like, they may not like you saying this, but just call 911, it's easy to remember, like, you know, and because sometimes, if you're not sure, just let them triage. I mean,
I
obviously.
have been driving and like seen a mattress on the highway or whatever, and I'm driving, so I called 911 and I said, this is a non-emergency emergency, there's a mattress on the highway that's very unsafe, like,
Yeah.
and they deal with it, and we were, so.
Exactly.
Here, different types of calls and different types of priority.
So these are the priority, order of priority. So we have priority ones, priority twos, priority threes. Priority ones are basically it's happening or it just happened, okay? That's gonna be like lights and sirens, everybody's kind of running, the whole everybody's coming, okay? But hopefully everybody's coming. Priority two is gonna be like, you know, there's a guy hanging down at the park and he appears to be like using drugs. Okay, that's gonna be a priority too. And again, we try to kind of like set time limits, like we do have like standards that we're trying to follow as far as times, when everything else is permitted. We might get like a priority one that comes out that requires everybody in the entire precinct, not just the area, but in the precinct, that we're gonna go deal with that. And now all of a sudden, like trespassers, suspicious people, that kind of stuff is gonna fall to the wayside. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. And then priority three is, that's the one where it's like, I woke up this morning, my windshield was broken, you know, and there's a break in it. That's a priority three. So we're coming out for that. Other ones would be like maybe a fraud, somebody stole your credit card, they're using it. Things like that are gonna be priority. So, and then like I said, ones and twos are always gonna require at least 2 officers.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes more, but at least the minimum 2. And I just tell you that, just like I said, it's like with the areas that we're servicing, and then we end up with like, 8 officers when we're supposed to have like 12 to 15, and then 2 officers are going to each call. So.
That is the end of the slideshow, and I have a couple of questions for you. So again, this is like a meet and greet, and he's just stepping into this role, so everyone go nice on him. I'm trying to be nice to him, and I'm going to ask a few questions, and we're already at 8:04, so we're going to keep this brief, but
Bonus round.
bonus round, rapid fire. What makes you want to take on this role?
Mostly because I love like just community. I love like trying to like make everybody deserves to live in a nice, safe neighborhood, regardless of like status, socioeconomic status, anything. Everybody deserves to have a nice neighborhood to live in. It doesn't matter. So, and that's part of it. Just kind of coming in and working with y'all and working with other people to make your neighborhoods an actual community. Like I said, you're doing.
And that was a perfect transition. What are the best ways for us to work with you?
Again, I mean, just kind of letting you know when there's like kind of chronic issues, when you're starting to see things that look like they're kind of getting out of hand. You know, patrol does the best that they can do based off of how many people we have right now, and I hate using that excuse, but it's just the way it is. But sometimes they can't put as much work into something that I can. So if there's like, you're having issues, like let's just say maybe an alley that is just, you can't get this alley clean. There's always people in the alley, there's always people camping in there. Patrol's gonna come by, they're gonna maybe like ID them and tell them to pack up and move on. And they're gonna move on. Patrol's gonna move on. that guy may stay there. I can go back there, I can make sure that we're offering the resources, let him know that what resources are available to him, see if he accepts them or declines them. If not, then we start taking other steps. And again, we try to do it as like, humanely as possible. We're not like, hey man, you gotta pack up and get out of here, you're going to jail. We do that maybe after 3 times, dealing with the same guy, and hopefully they kind of move on. And if they're not taking resources, ultimately we want them to take the resources, because that makes it better for everybody. It makes it easier for us, it makes it better for you, and it's better for them.
And then this is a similar-ish question, but what else can we as the community and individuals be doing to improve safety in our neighborhood?
Just keep looking out for each other. If something doesn't, you know your neighborhood better than anybody else, so if something doesn't look right, something doesn't seem right, I just call it in. It's no big deal, like you just, a suspicious person, we literally have a call for suspicious person, which sounds like kind of silly, but it doesn't mean anything. We'll just drive by if we feel as though, yeah, that guy's a little shady. He doesn't belong in this neighborhood, and you all don't think he belongs in this neighborhood, then we can at least stop and talk to him. And bottom line is it also puts a patrol car in your neighborhood. So patrol vehicles coming through your neighborhood.
Things that worked really well on my block was we all had each other's phone numbers.
Oh,
Yep.
tree,
Yep.
yes.
Yes.
That was one of the things in our safety survey, we were looking for champions
Yeah.
to build your own block's phone tree, because, as much as I would love to go out and make a phone tree for everyone's own block, I'm not gonna do that, because I have a life. I appreciate everyone here for being here, but go out and be a champion for your block, and go get the phone numbers of your neighbors and say, this is for us to say, hey, there's someone out there, someone just stole my Amazon package,
Right.
look out,
But call us
whatever.
first, call us first,
Yes.
and then put it out on
Yes.
the phone tree.
Yes.
So,
If you suspect something's going on, you're not sure, but your other neighbor's closer, and maybe you give them a heads up, you can make sure before we call you and stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
That it was a cat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't report.
And even then, it's like we've gone out for silly things that, we used a lot of resources to find out that it was just like a rotting turkey, like literally a rotting turkey in the trash. It's been there for like weeks, and we set up on that house. So don't worry about it. Like we'll all be good.
Do you have a favorite restaurant or coffee shop in Coronado?
Oh,
Let me see. Yeah.
I know.
Or whatever.
Yeah, well, here's a Coronado connection that I had before I became a police officer, I used to own a food truck at a restaurant, and I did the Coronado home tour, many years
What kind of food?
We started off as Lunch Libre, and then we turned into United Lunch Tours.
And you gave that up.
How hard that is. This is so much easier.
All right, I'm gonna open it up for 2 questions.
Becky, real quick.
Sorry, Nick has something to
Yeah,
say.
super quick, I know we're over time. I want to commend you guys and Becky and your team for the survey that goes out. There are no other neighborhoods that work with that put together a survey like this. So I want you guys to realize that. I know you don't see other neighborhoods and how they work. This is very unique, and I think very valuable to you all and to us to try and focus the attention where it needs to go. So kudos to you guys. Somebody brought up Willow. Yeah, very good. Somebody brought up Willow. They do an amazing job with the phone trees and having street captains in their neighborhood. Something to talk about for you guys in that realm of putting together some phone tree and more communication. But yeah, it's amazing. Thank you all for having us. And yeah, good job.
Thank you.
We'll take 2 questions if we have them.
I have a comment.
Look at us.
Scotty,
Scotty has a
I
comment.
got a comment.
Yes.
Just regarding the phone trees, they don't need to be like a reactive communication source. Like you don't have to use it for limited to like, oh hey, someone stole my package, whatever. I've had neighbors that say, hey, I'm at work, I have an Amazon package that just got delivered. Can you go grab it off my door and I'll grab it from you later? Or like, hey, we're having, my kid's graduation party tonight, so if you see extra cars on the street, they're probably at my house, and if there's a little extra noise, like, just let us know before you go and call Officer Cobb. So you can use it both ways, so.
Yes, 100%.
I think it'd be helpful to have some statistics also. I know that this happened at our other safety committee meetings, but for example, the non-emergency number, I had to call it a couple weeks ago. I was on hold for 15 minutes. By that time, the situation could have dissipated. So I understand there's staffing issues and all of that, but like just giving us information about that, about what the stats are and numbers for like someone to pick up your call and possibly also to like respond to the call. So we're aware of that versus like, wow, I was on hold for 15 minutes. I guess I'm not going to call again because it's not worth it. That, just to decrease that mentality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what, and again, it's like, if you're not sure, and dispatch may not like me saying this, but I would just call 911 if you're not sure, then just deal with it like that. Like, if and they'll triage the call when it needs to go. They'll determine whether or not, but also like, to this point, like, don't downplay anything. Don't act like you're like wasting our time or they're shorthanded and I'm not gonna bother them. It's like, that is our job. That is our job, is to go deal with things like that and make sure that everybody's kind of feeling like we're getting a good response. So, and I can certainly like look into that and see times of day, call volumes like probably higher where it is taking longer for them to pick up.
I think that'd be a helpful informational piece for the community.
Absolutely.
We hear that a lot. Unfortunately, we hear that a lot. Sorry. What I'm going to try and do is get somebody from our dispatch, our communications bureau, to come to a meeting and give us some information on what they're dealing with, the issues they're dealing with, what takes them so long, why they do the things they do. We know some of what goes on and we can explain the basics of how they prioritize calls, but they have a ton of information. I don't know that they have people that come out to meetings. I think this might be a new idea for them, but I'm going to make some phone calls and see if we can get somebody to a meeting whenever you guys are available for that.
Thank you. And then Meredith had a follow-up call about what level of priority wellness checks to you.
Wellness checks are generally twos. Yeah, they're generally going to be twos. And every now and then you might get one that is a one, which we call high. And we always wonder like why is this high? So, yeah, and it just depends on.
Maybe there's a parking lot with an odor coming from the house.
Exactly, like that might be or something like that. But it's generally a two, and like I said, we try to do our best to get to twos. Like, I think the target's like around 20 or 30 minutes for us to get to. It doesn't always work out that way. Just again, depending on staffing and what else is going on.
So those are big calls too, that we would like some contact or the ability to contact the caller who is having a concern about somebody. Because hey, we need you to check on somebody about, we hear the barking dog in the house, we don't know what's going on. You may have a lot more to that story and some history and some, that'll give us some, I guess, reason to push further on than what we may be able to. For instance, if we have somebody in the house that you haven't seen in a while, if you say, we haven't seen them, that's not normal, we go knock on the door. If we don't have reasons to barge into that person's house to check their welfare, legally we can't do it. And so from you guys, if you have some history, hey, we talk to her every day, we talk to him every day, we haven't heard from him in 2 or 3 days, the mail's piling up in the back, whatever. All these things we have to piece together, and sometimes it makes a decision for us that we are going to make entry into this house to check welfare. It is a big threshold for us to be able to do that, and so some history or some context from you guys is very, very important. Those are the calls that are really important for us to be able to talk to you.
All right, Scotty, one last final comment or question.
Do you have any pets at home? And if so, what is their name?
And why is there a question?
I've actually got 3 dogs. One of them is particularly mine. She's a little kind of chihuahua, but she thinks she's got Rottweiler markings, so she thinks she's a Rottweiler.
Sounds like Rolla.
She's got 6 dogs. Her name is Lula. And then I have 2 other dogs that they're seniors now, but they're brother and sister who got them many years ago. Daisy and Boo.
Daisy and Boo. Well, we are well over time. Thank you everyone for staying late. Thank you, officers.
I do. I don't know if any of you saw what just happened, but the seller was sitting there. And she didn't say a word.
Oh.
And then she pulled me over here and ripped my head off.
Why? What should she want?
That was not the conversation, but the conversation was not friendly from her, and she was super mad.
Wait, what was she dressed like?
What? I mean, you know, we asked to speak to her so many times. So the fact that she didn't even say anything to us, we could have had a great conversation. We could have talked about this. We could have solved it tonight. So that's what happened today. So that's going to be an uphill battle.
Sorry.